spiritual extremist Dr. Lloyd-Moffett in the mushroom, and we're talking here about how to cultivate that love. And we saw that the first stage was all about obedience to a spiritual master. They say that is essential. If you do not have a guide, you will be lost. The second practice is Dikr. And what is Dikr? Dikr is the continual remembrance of God. That is to live up to the call that we see in the Quran in chapter 13. Verily, by remembering God or Allah, hearts become calm. Note that if you have a constant remembrance of God, nothing else is shaping your world. In fact, it says in a Sufi text, nothing should occur in your mind except for God. And note, if nothing remains in your mind but God, what is left or what is forgotten? Yourself. So Dikr, the remembrance of God, is a loss of self. It's a selfless love. And so what you do is have oftentimes a series of chanting of names, sometimes just singing the 100 names of God, singing Allah. There was a time where a scholar went to Egypt and he was studying Sufis back in the 19th century. And he watched a group of Sufis just chant the Shahada, there's no God but God, Muhammad is his messenger, for 8 hours. And they would get faster and faster and slower. This rhythmic singing of God's names and characteristic, that is so much a part of it. And you'll see below that I'll actually link to some YouTube videos of one of my favorite Sufi singers, a group called Fanafi Allah, where you continually sing the name of God. But it's also here where you sometimes get the Sufis looking a lot both like Christian monks and Hindu mystics. That is, they will sit in silence for much time remembering their way. They will choose celibacy to focus on all their energies of God. And you begin to see an entire sort of way of living, or way of praying, that mimics a lot Hindu yoga and the Hesychastic tradition in Eastern Orthodoxy. So if you want to do this, I'll read through how to meditate in this way. Here is a Dikr form of meditation. So you sit cross-legged, placing your right foot over your left foot, the left hand of the right foot, and the right hand on top of the left hand. So right foot over left foot, left hand on the right foot, right hand on top of the left hand, and face the direction of Mecca. By the way, there's an app to show you where Mecca is. Hold the image of your spiritual master, your guide, your sheikh in front of you. And I guess this is me, so just put the computer there somewhere. Because his heart is similarly linked to the heart of the master and connected all the way to the prophet and by the prophet to God. Look upon your earthly body as dead. Okay, here's the asceticism part. So don't worry about your earthly body. Loosen the roots of your thoughts that are the tool of the soul of the devil. With a little effort, you can pull them out and gather the internal and external senses together. When you have the image of your master in front of you and all your thoughts controlled, then Dikr can enter your heart. That is, the remembrance of God can enter your heart. With reverence and totality of thought from the bottom of your navel to your top of your head, say the words, "There's no God but God." Hold it there, saying the words, "There's no God but God." La ilaha illa illah. Bring your left shoulder with the head and rock it towards the right shoulder with the power of no God but God. So, there's no God but God. There's no God but God. Then use your finger to point upward to remember the truth. There's no God but God. There's no God but God. The right shoulder powerfully knock with the Dikr, Allah. Allah. There's no God but God. Allah. Allah. There's no God but God. Allah. Allah. So anyhow, it goes on and on and on. But the idea here is your body becomes a vehicle of constant prayer. You can link up your breath, your movement with prayer to create the biorhythms so that you're living in constant remembrance of God with every step, with everything you do. Now, there are other ways of having constant remembrance of God. There's singing the name of God, repeating the name of God or the characteristics of God or some verse from the Quran. There's meditation like we just saw. There's also things like calligraphy. Sacred art can be a meditation that you can do. Another thing is whirling dervishes, that's just spinning to center yourself upon God, and I'll put a link below to that practice. But the idea here, and no matter what kind of Dikr you do, is you need to do a physical practice that centers your life on God and moves you in the direction of pushing aside everything else other than God. So, when you look at the techniques for developing this profound love of God, we talked about obedience to a master and practicing Dikr, and that all sets up for the final stage, which is fana, or annihilation, that we will talk about below.